Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George Affleck.
And it's time for
UnSpun.
No, we're not.
No, we're
It's
not.
the evening.
But
It's weird.
we're recording this in the evening, which is unusual for us. But you had to work all day today at NW. You do two. How many shifts were you on today?
Lots.
Yeah, you were there all day. So we're here.
4 hours of radio.
At dinner time. We got the whole family here.
Hi, Quinn.
It's a whole party happening.
There's shout out to your son, who's our technical director this evening, by the way.
That's right.
But it is time for UnSpun, and we have a lot to cover off in politics from one end of the gamut to the other. But we're going to actually start in Europe. That was last weekend.
Yes.
The G7.
G7.
What's with Justin Trudeau's socks being a bad thing? And
Sockgate.
Amanda, can you take a picture of George's socks for our at UnSpun podcast
Yeah,
Twitter?
they're not as wild, but they're colorful a little bit. So he remember, was it 3 years ago when the first G7 summit, and he had his socks. I think
Sunny ways.
And it was all like, oh, what a cool prime minister they have. He has cool socks. Wow. And everybody in Canada, isn't that great? You know, we've gone from the boring prime minister, this really hip guy with his cool socks, and now we have this. Oh, that's ridiculous. How can we take this person seriously, sitting there with Trump with his silly socks and crossing his legs like this and looking very passive against the president of the United States? This is ridiculous. He needs to take a stand and change his socks.
What do you think about that?
I don't think that's what people were saying.
I know, but what do you think about what people were saying
it's
there?
Ridiculous.
I think it's ridiculous.
First of all, sitting with Trump, whatever. I mean, he always looks aggressive, no matter who you're sitting with, whether with his legs spread apart and
everybody looks better than Trump, in my
legs.
opinion, with the ill-fitting suit and the extra long red tie and the hairspray,
scarf,
hairspray thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Somebody's going to write in about how I'm dissing Trump.
Why
but
do you
that's
hate Trump so much?
Because I do. I just do. But the Justin Trudeau at the G7, that's one page.
Jogging, by the way, a lot of jogging shots. Also getting a lot of hate for that too.
People thought it was a photo op. No, he works out.
Yeah, well,
he's kind of always done that.
He does, but he's waving to the cameras though. He's kind of milking it.
But he didn't do selfies with the people
that
were at the cameras.
But he always seems to find a way to jog where there's cameras. It's just kind of interesting. But hey, why not?
A politician who likes attention? George, say it isn't so.
I know, it's crazy. And you know what? You have your base and you have your supporters and who love that stuff, and the people who hate it will always hate it.
Indeed. So speaking of the love side, interesting, because we were waiting on Justin Trudeau being in British Columbia, actually specifically in Surrey at a trade school, where he was going to make an announcement today, Thursday, along with Premier John Horgan. And watching it was the subject matter of the announcement was sort of secondary, because we're heading into the election October 21st. So
rain and money.
Where's the cash? But it was how these two interacted, John Horgan and Justin Trudeau. They were calling each other by their first names, and they're hugging each other, and it was a lot of...
Was it Johnny and Justy? How did they...
No, but
hey, Johnny.
We were talking on the radio that we should give them like some sort of bromance name, like Benifer. We'll have to come up with...
John?
We'll work on that on George.
JJ. Let's just call him JJ.
At George_Affleck on Twitter. Come up with your best bromance name for these two. But interesting to watch the provincial NDP premier and the federal, obviously, prime minister, Liberal prime minister.
Yes.
So buddy-buddy. And no sign of the federal NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, poor guy. Not welcome at this. Clearly an event to try and swing some voters in Surrey over to the Liberals from probably the NDP, maybe some Conservatives, hard to say. But what their goal was in Surrey, there are a couple of MPs out there, and I think there's some opportunity for them in Surrey. And Horgan's thinking about the next 2 to 6 years, and he's going, this guy's probably going to win, and I want to make... Jagmeet, no, sorry, buddy. I don't think you have any chance of even potentially getting as many seats as you have now again.
He's polling very low.
Very low.
Yeah.
So they decided to come together, and even though these parties, because the NDP generally, they have like the Green Party, they align with their federal counterparts. Generally, it's kind of a rule. You don't betray your federal counterparts. You either sit it out and if you don't, whatever, agree, or you totally commit to working hard for the party nationally or vice versa, provincially. In this case, the Greens have that policy as well. They seem to be pretty united nationally with their local and provincial counterparts, but here we have an NDP premier not doing it because he's going, I need to win my election in a couple of years, and I need some goodies. I need some goodies so I can re-announce those goodies, those memorandums of understandings.
Which is $680 million towards the electrification of the cleanest natural gas in the world. So basically talking about Canadian resources, but keeping it green, and how BC's at the forefront of the carbon tax and climate change.
Which Oregon didn't support, and also didn't support LNG, and but hey, who gets in the way of a good photo op? And announcing something that is probably, like it's written on the back of a napkin and by a bunch of strategists going, let's say I got an idea. We'll find $650 million for British Columbia so we can rank up those numbers for BC, because right now Quebec's pulling ahead on the cash give-outs, the pretend ones.
Spread it across
the pretend gives.
The pretend gives. The fact that also in a political climate, a global political climate, where many people who maybe don't go as deep into politics as we might are thinking, nobody works together. Nobody works with anybody. Everything is so partisan that it's just like...
That's certainly my experience.
For sure. But then here we are watching the federal Liberal Prime Minister.
It's a good strategic move on Horgan's part. It's a smart move. He needs to keep people happy. Although I think it might be pissing off the Green Party, and the NDP always have this challenge. They have the workers and they have the environmentalists. So they're trying to keep those two groups happy all the time. And we've talked about that before. That balance for the NDP is very, very challenging because one of them eventually will get pissed off.
Keith Baldry and I talked about this today when I was filming in on CKNW, and I thought it was fascinating because it's that fact that Justin Trudeau appears to only be running against Andrew Scheer. Everybody else is an afterthought. So he took this opportunity within this bromancy moment that appeared non-partisan. And then at one point he goes, unlike Andrew Scheer, who's all about confrontation, unlike consultation. And it was just like, oh, there it is.
Isn't that ironic, though, when you say that? That's confrontational.
It really is. It's very political. You know what else is super political? As I segue to the next topic.
This is why you're so good at your job.
Thanks. Uber.
Even though you've worked like 12 hours a day, and that's why we're here in the evening recording this.
We are.
We spent like all day broadcasting.
Trying to get a hold of people.
By the way, cheers on our wine glass evening. Full of our standard white wine.
Gin.
43 gallons of it.
43 people in the communications department at City Hall, and I couldn't get one on the phone this week while doing a major market afternoon drive radio station. I'm just like...
I would say I'm shocked.
No.
But I'm not shocked.
I'll get into more of that later.
Yes.
We had Lyft in the mix already. Lyft is coming. Ride sharing is coming. And they're actually starting to hire during the time that this podcast is out. So people could be applying for jobs as we speak. This week, Uber adds itself to the pack. They're applying for the PTB.
Applause.
But it was interesting because it was Michael Van Hemmen, who is the head of Uber Canada, longer title, but basically. And in talking it through, he was talking to Mike Smith on the Simi Sarah show, and then I had those clips on our show and got a ton of reaction about how it's not a matter of if anymore. It's a matter of when. So we've reached the point of disruption. And Van Hemmen was saying, any taxi drivers that don't like 12-hour shifts and maybe want to stop in the middle and go to
Control their destiny.
Go to their son's, he actually used the son's soccer practice as an example. I thought, oh, that's brilliant. And that, the taxi license owners started to become extremely vocal this week.
Yes.
Because they are now like, the NDP broke their promise. And I'm like, when did the NDP promise the taxi industry?
It might have happened in a back room. And maybe that's how they won the last election. But now it's like everything's fallen apart for the taxi guys, to be honest. And I think that the only thing that the NDP could probably give them is say, regionalize, which is something that I don't think the taxi guys ever wanted, even though they always say, well, the taxi, it's an association. It's like not us, it's the province.
The small operators are like, bring down the boundaries.
Bring down the boundaries. And if you're in downtown, where right now they have the regionalization exists on Fridays and Saturdays. But why not just let it rip? But because now Uber will be available in the burbs, and you can drive around, pick up people. So all the taxis come downtown now, and that's what they should just say. Okay, you know what? Let's open
it up, and let's serve the public, and hope that the public maintain their comfort level with identifiable taxis as opposed to an app base, because lots of people are still going to need taxis. Your phone dies, you don't have the app, you don't know how to use an app, you don't want somebody.
If the taxi guys were strategic, they would look at the markets. Like the Lyft and Uber are saying there are certain areas where they probably won't have enough drivers. Well, then the taxi guys have the opportunity, and you can literally look on the app and see what's going on, and then just
show up there.
Say taxis go there. I mean, why not? Or why not just start becoming Ubers and just change your. It's a taxi that shows up, but it's also an Uber. I don't know.
I just like the idea of going back to the day where you could call for a taxi and it would arrive, and then it didn't even call you back. You would keep an eye out, see it there, and then go get your shoes on and walk out, and it would still be there. It was like a magical unicorn time in my life.
Those times are long gone, I think.
But it's just fascinating to...
I still call for fun, though. And there is a person, I think it's one person that answers the phone for these taxi guys.
I get are you at this address? And if I'm not at home, I'm like, well, now I'm messed up. That's not going to happen.
I do that. It does that to me, one of them. And it gives me an address. I'm going, I've never even been to that place. Who
Where
is
are
this
you
person?
calling from, Amanda?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Wait a tick.
Do you have a secret apartment I don't know about?
But will drivers defect? Will there be disruption in the industry overall before Uber and Lyft can be established, and when the taxi industry maybe loses 10-15% of their drivers, maybe at a key point in the evening? Like, there's a whole bunch of moving parts that we don't know might impact, or it'll just be fine. Or it'll just all be fine.
Disruption sometimes isn't as horrible as people think. I
mean, remember bike lanes?
Why would you, don't do that. But the newspaper industry is certainly facing challenges with the industry, and television and radio also. Digital has really impacted them. So lots of industries have been upset by this, but they're all trying to find ways to make money.
Brick and mortar shops with online shopping.
Amazon, everybody's trying to find their way. The taxi guys now don't have the government to cover their ass anymore, and they got to figure out how to work in a market economy. What a concept.
But they're saying, you know what? We're no longer going to buy a table at your fundraiser. We're no longer going to give you the donations that we gave you before. I've never heard that vocal piece.
What's the point?
Well,
there you go. You save $40,000 to $50,000. There you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
Those donations.
Put it into a retirement plan for the drivers.
Yeah. Put it in a retirement plan for the drivers. Yeah, that's going to happen. No, it's not. What we hope will happen. Segue. If you're a parent in British Columbia, you're kind of biting your nails as we stare down back to school.
I've been through this 3 times with my 3 kids.
I've only been through it once.
This whole strike situation.
Once was plenty.
Yeah.
But discussions between BCTF and the provincial NDP government trying to sort out this new agreement.
Hold on. I'm sorry. They're having troubles? The union, the teachers' representatives who put ads out saying vote for NDP are having trouble negotiating with the NDP? This is unbelievable. How could this happen?
Is this a case of when the NDP were all like, the Liberal government needs to get this deal done when they were in opposition? Now they're in power, looking like, ooh, we need this to
I mean, opposition isn't easy. Believe me, it's tough. But absolutely, you make statements sometimes that you go, that you will have to make the opposite decision once you're in power, because usually it's related to money. You're going, I can't do that. That's not financially viable. So, what do the teachers want, though? They want classroom changes. They want committed to sizes to
class size and composition.
And composition, which is like kids with
high need
kids.
Yeah.
So restricting numbers.
Yes.
Of those kids in
to
class.
cap the certain number of high needs kids, or attach the support for those kids, or ESL kids, because there could be.
So it's not about
English
money.
is a second language, but the core language isn't the same for any of the kids in the classroom. And all of a sudden, there's one teacher and 5 kids, 6 kids that speak no English, and their core language, all of them are different. I mean, how does that teacher manage a room that might have 4 kids on the spectrum over here?
You got 4 ADHD kids, 5 kids who speak a different language, and then 10 kids that are just kind of what's going on.
I'm going to throw out a totally outlandish, naive Jody moment. We should have Jody moments as well as George facts. Why not ask teachers and find out what's actually needed in classrooms? Like, in Vancouver is one thing.
Isn't that what the BC Teachers Federation?
Dawson Creek is another thing. And in,
Totally, I can't. I totally can. The difference between being a teacher in Vancouver and being a teacher in Dawson Creek or anywhere outside of the city or region of the Lower Mainland must be a completely different experience. First of all, your money goes further, so that's good. But
especially considering that BC teachers make we as a province, our teachers make the second or third lowest in the country salary by a lot.
Okay, can we deal with that? I don't like spending money, but I'm thinking it's
Maybe
a
on
lot
education.
of good evidence saying education is a pretty important part of a good society.
Are you referencing the United States there, George?
Oh yeah, And they don't even have maternity leave down there either. That's things like that. When you're these early stages of a person's life, it's really important to do the right work and make that commitment. And as from a social point of view, certainly for me as someone who's a fiscal conservative, that's a good investment is education. For sure, and I always find it shocking. That's crazy. We're the most expensive province in the country, and
we have a teacher shortage. I was talking with Terry.
I wonder why. We don't pay them enough.
And I come from a position, my dad was a teacher, my stepmom was a teacher, my two cousins are teachers. I've got a child in public school. Like I've got skin in the game and I've got an opinion on this because listen to people saying, teachers, they get summers off and pro-D days and they only work till 3 and da-da-da. Anybody who knows a teacher knows teachers work really hard and long after the bell rings and marking things. And I mean, they're taking things out of their own pocket. Dad used to feed the kids at Britannia in a very marginalized area of the city. And this was a long time ago, but he'd arrive at 6 o'clock in the morning for the kid that didn't have a shower at home or maybe had a bad home situation. Like, let's invest in the people that are helping our community at that level. And I love my dad and kudos to him, but he's one of many great teachers.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm passionate from that perspective. I don't mean to lean so much in one direction. I try to find some middle on these things, but when I watch what's going on, I'm really lucky because my boy is a good student. But if he was struggling and the teacher didn't have time or the resources to help him, I don't know what I'd do. Like I think about the parent that's a single parent, living paycheck to paycheck or worse, doesn't have childcare, has a high needs kid in a public school system that maybe has a teacher librarian who is pulled from the library today to cover because there's not a teacher.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at.
And I think that, and I talking to parents and as a parent myself, I can recall when I meet parents of all political levels, walks of spectrums, and they don't seem to have a problem either with this concept of investing in school. If anybody's out there and wants to argue with us and tell us on Twitter why the teachers shouldn't get more money, or why they should be these things shouldn't happen, I'd be interested. But I would
be interested too. At Jody Vance,
clearly,
Jody with a Y.
This is surprising, I think, to people that were saying this. I think because they would think that we would say the opposite. But yes, George _
Affleck and at UnSpun podcast, which is kind of my favorite follow. Amanda's like gaining on you on my Twitter crush because you're funny. No, you put out some really good content, and we do take the feedback and take it to heart and read it all. And it's important to have this conversation because it is our tax dollars. There is only one taxpayer. Which, and speaking to Terry Mooring, who's the BCTF president, the BC Teachers Federation president, she was talking about what's going on in the U.S. with teachers, putting up like lists on Amazon of things they need for their classroom, and it's a campaign called Clear the List. So it's actually like a GoFundMe for teachers.
So you as a person
I
pay
need
for those
paper
things.
and highlighters and ballpoint
And through
pens.
Amazon, you can just go send them that stuff.
I could go and clear that
off.
off.
When I was on the PAC, before I got into politics, I was very involved in my kids' school, and I was on the PAC. I was the chair for a long time, and being on a PAC is really just about collecting cash.
You did a great
buying
job, I
stuff. Yes, we made a lot of money.
I bet you did.
But it was also like, why? We're getting money from the same people who pay taxes, so it's like there's only one taxpayer. So. I always find that bizarre. Just give the system the supplies they need, and don't let parents have to do all the work. Because you know what, we have other things to do with our time. But that's how it works now.
I got one more sort of school thing for you, and then we'll get to municipal politics. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. But immunization, where do you stand on the mandatory piece? Because New Brunswick and Ontario are leaning
for immunization,
towards,
like jack them up.
Yes,
but
not mandatory.
Well, I find I'm torn because it's not particularly libertarian. It's at a slippery slope of a dictatorial kind of system. But as a person who supports vaccines and think they do a good thing, and I don't want to see kids who can't get vaccines get sick because some parent has watched some YouTube video or John F. who's it?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I don't hate him, I just hate his message.
Yes.
You know, and Jessica Biel and Jenny McCarthy and, you know, the whole Lancet Journal, which was like 1998.
It's been refuted 1,000 times.
It was completely retracted, and he was like charged with like a crime for lying and being associated with making money off of the absolutely fabricated results that he put out there, but it was so latched onto. And now the anti-vax movement is amortizing the internet by using that rhetoric to get people engaged and click, and it's a landslide that.
But to that, and we saw these problems in a lot of, and even here, the growth of kids who are not getting vaccinated, and there's kids getting sick. But to make it mandatory, you create a stigma where, if, say, for example, the parents don't do it, there is a process of they have to go through an education thing if they get caught, if there's something like it's so weird.
Okay, so here's
explain it, because then I'll tell you why I think this is a problem.
Okay, so if on Tuesday, because we're recording on Thursday, so after Labor Day, when kids go back to school on Tuesday, for like an hour, you'll have to provide that public school with the immunization records for your child to prove that they have been immunized.
Yep.
If they're not immunized, that's okay for now in BC that they're not immunized. However, there are stipulations that come with it. Number one is if there is a measles outbreak, your child, your non-immunized child, or your unvaccinated child will need to go home for 21 days, because that is how long the duration of the virus would live within. It's like one of the most infectious diseases and most deadly diseases to the human race, period, which is why there's such huge vaccination levels needed.
And I would imagine that would include kids who are vulnerable, the kids that have had...
Medical exemptions are totally different.
Yeah, but they still have to, they would be saying, just stay home. Would they say to those kids as well?
I don't know.
It would have to. It'd have to be all kids who don't have vaccination. I think that the people with kids who are have compromised immune systems, I think the parents would want them to stay home. Yeah.
Because those are kids who are going through chemotherapy or had a transplant of some sort. Like, I would. I wouldn't want my kid at risk for, and you need to if there's no herd immunity.
But so for the parents who don't, then they
have
create
to
this
speak
stigma,
to
and you create this situation where
there's also a
this
stigma
kid gets identified as the kid that could have been the kid that killed my kid or whatever, right?
Yeah, but there's also mandatory seat belts that once weren't the thing. There were mandatory child seats. You know, and I saw somebody tweeting about the fact that they saw 7 kids in a 4-person car.
I would never.
It's illegal.
I would never. I would never attack you. And if you were in your car not wearing your seatbelt, I would be like, that was dumb. But if you're a person who's got vaccination, not vaccinations, and because you're a total anti-vaxxer, then you are setting yourself. The government's setting you up to be a target. And a lot of them
but
like
you're
to,
hitting me in my spot, because my thing is, in a seatbelt, you're only hurting yourself, but not getting vaccinated, you're hurting that person and that person and maybe a lot of people. So it does matter to others. It's not just about yourself. And they're safe. And they're not big pharma. Like, that's the thing that's sort of perpetuated, that it is this. Anyways, I'm getting on my rant. But I've written about it at the Orca, and I got inundated. You can find my article on this at the Orca.ca.
I can't believe
done
it.
too on it.
Yeah, I have a few anti-vaxxers on my Facebook feed. It's almost like a silence, quiet.
Oh, I found Block. It's great. I'm going to throw one that's not on our list, because we were talking about the downtown east side and Oppenheimer Park last week. And I ended up talking this week to John Cooper a little bit about it.
Yes.
And then he's like, you should talk to Stuart McKinnon. I have been trying to reach the park board chair for days.
And you know that they're not going to do the tents are not going, right? They're not going because they had to get an injunction, and they didn't file an injunction because they didn't have as far as it would appear, you can only file an injunction, at least this is how it works in council, I think it works the same at Park Board, is that they have to have a majority of the council or commissioners support the injunction. So that means that the injunction didn't happen because the majority of commissioners did not support it. So who were those people? Because it was in camera, we'll never know. But I think we know it wasn't John Cooper, and it wasn't Trish. So let's think.
Yeah.
Who could it have been that said, no, we're not going to do the injunction, let's let that campsite build up again? I mean, come on.
And the pillars that they put in.
Give us the tools to do your job.
And whose park's next?
Well, exactly. Now they're just going to go, great, now we know where the park board stands on this. Let's start building tents everywhere. Because the park board clearly, the only reason the park board got those tents out of there was because the GM had the ability briefly to do this process and to tell people to move along with support from the police and many city staff and many community groups
Fire and
the fire, all these people. We had to get these people out of there. But now that these people know that they can go back there without an injunction, that won't happen, it's just going to start building up again. It's just like, oh my God.
Sounds very familiar, this topic, this conversation. And then what did I do? I said, where's the mayor? So I called the city. 43 communication.
You called 43 times to get to the 43
I kind of feel like the producers at CKNW did, because I said, can we call again so that I can say we called? God. Okay.
Yes, well. And
no answer, dude. No answer. So where's the mayor? Where's the park board chair? And the park board, I can't find Stuart McKinnon on Twitter. He used to have a Twitter account. It's gone. And I can't.
Well, talk to.
I just want to talk about this. Like, let's explain why there's inaction. Because as you said, what's to say? You said a year ago there's going to be a camp there, and then there was a camp there and it got dangerous, and then it got to the point of needing to be scaled back. It needs to be cleared out. Find places for people.
They've got homes. They have them for everybody.
And you said last week, some of the people there are protesting.
Yeah, it's a protest now,
It's a protest
and now, but then it'll start being a campsite again, and then.
We'll go back
it's
through
like
this.
some
and then it's
kind
like
of
the evacuation order goes down, and after the order expires, then you apply for the injunction, and that's when it's cleared out. That's and that is how it works in Park Board. I did
and
my
city
research
can't
on
do
it.
that injunction.
Nope.
This is park land.
Park Board.
The city can offer as they did with their staff, but the mayor could also take a stand and try to convince the Park Board people who are voting against it, but he's invisible as usual. So here we are again, campsite.
Here we are. You are on the Daily Hive again?
I will tomorrow. It'll be coming out. So today we're recording. So when this goes live, it's another.
What'd you write about?
Well, it actually happened by accident. There was a Bob Mackin story that came out about the fact that the city's going to start charging for parking at City Hall, in and around City Hall. There's like about 30 spots there that are there for when you go pay your taxes or when you go to see council in the daytime and nighttime. So they're going to charge parking during the day, which is when council generally meets, except for public hearings. And I'm like, okay. So I tweeted something about like this is anti-democratic, not about, and of course I know what's going to happen now, and the people are going, all the bike people and the people who hate cars are going to go cuckoo because I'm talking about cars. But what I'm
going to let you talk about cars because it's just the two of us in a camera right now. So
well, it's and
parking
my point
at City Hall,
yes,
should have spots for people who can't afford to park.
Well, it's just petty. Like, come on, it's 30 spots. You go in, you run to do your taxes, or who knows? And so on Twitter, this Twitter storm happened. People saying, well, yeah, car drivers are rich. They can pay for the parking. I'm like, well, where are you living? First of all, there's a lot of seniors who drive who are not rich, and then that's how they get around.
My dad cannot ride a bike.
Yeah, it's like this is not about bikes. This is just another nail in the coffin of democracy at City Hall. It's about building this fortress that these 43 communications staff are part of. So they're putting the parking costs up. They have 43 communication staff.
And
they
security.
Have high core, like crazy security now to get into the chambers. Like you have to go through two process. You can't go into the chamber and you get called in now. You have, they don't have scanning devices yet, but I imagine that's next. You have a mayor's office already proving that they're just like Gregor and not communicating with people. I mean, what more do we have to take as people in the city to see access to our City Hall being completely shut down? And parking, this is like a metaphor to me, people, please. And you can read more about it in Daily Hive. It's a metaphor for what I believe is City Hall creating a fortress and making it impossible for people to enter.
Yeah.
And that it's not about cars. It's about access. And it
to
really,
the City Hall that we pay for, by the way.
It's just like, parking, $2 is cheap, and then people who have cars are rich and
about
whatever.
that.
It's not about that. It's one thing after another after another. And when does it stop? And so my point is that it's
an
not
excellent call,
about
guys
parking.
and gals.
It's not about cars.
The Daily Hive Vancouver.
Yeah.
Read George Affleck. A little bit of an opinion in the piece. Yeah, I love it. It's really well written. I'm glad you're writing.
Well,
I wrote two. Mine is a little bit more candy floss and candy apple than that. Because I love the peony.
Yes, you do.
I
but
love
no,
it.
you hate it. I read you hated it. You spend
that.
too much money.
Nope. This was actually ghostwritten for my son. He has been asking me weekly if I've written about the Kid Casino yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Casino,
the Midway.
Yeah.
that used to be an absolute blast. It used to be a meeting place for kids that maybe one time you'd win a stuffy, never mind a big stuffy.
There's one where I think you can always win that boat thing. You always win that one.
But you can always win if you only do it by yourself. If you pay $5 to do whack-a-mole by yourself and nobody else takes part, here's a small stuffy, you're guaranteed. So you watch the whack-a-mole that is the same mechanisms that we played on when I was there as a kid. It's the exact same machines. And nobody plays because it's one at a time winning one stuffy. And back in the day, it was all of my best friends and we would laugh so hard to see who could whack the most moles.
Right.
Nobody would win a stuffy and we laughed, but it was 50, it was 25 cents.
Right.
And we probably...
How old are you?
I'm 52.
I'm kidding.
No. 52. You were at my birthday party.
Yeah,
it was great. Anyways,
back
I
in
digress.
my day, a can of Coke was 4 cents.
But Brady went, my son went with his class actually, so this is 2 months ago. It was Playland, not even the Peony, same Midway.
Yep.
And he went, and his dad had given him $40. Don't ask. Don't give your kid $40 to go to Playland.
Quinn, should I give you $40 to go to Playland? Yeah, he says yes. Good
Well,
one.
he said,
now we've got a price tag here.
I'm going to quote Brady.
This is the worst night you could ever bring this up.
I had the best White Spot burger. It was delicious. And fries. And then I went to the arcade. You know where you get the arm, Quinn, you'll know this, where you get the arm length of tickets.
Yeah.
Right? You get, when you play the video games and stuff, it spits out tickets.
Yeah.
And you get tons of tickets. You're like, oh my God, this is great. And then you go up to the counter and you need a truckload of tickets in order to get something.
Here's your plastic ring.
So Brady came home with a rubber ball that doesn't bounce, that wouldn't be in the discount bin at the dollar store, and a broken slide whistle. That was $30.
You're probably pretty happy with the broken slide whistle because you don't want that noise.
But he was pissed. I wasn't pissed. I'm like, not my money. It was his dad's money. But sorry, Bart. It was really no.
Very generous of you.
Very generous, and he had a blast. And
Thanks, by the way.
But he learned a great lesson because he's like, I'm never going in there again. It's a kid casino, and that's not fun, and that's not fair. Because if the whack-a-mole was 50 cents, let's just say it was 50 cents, I bet you he would play it 20 times. Which means that's twice as much than me not playing it once for $5.
And then you have more people having fun.
Having a good time. And everybody's like, maybe I'll play that game.
Well, Laura Balance, we'll tag you on this one this week. And,
I love Laura Balance. I love the
Maybe
Peony.
you can get the word to the bosses there. And Lisa Dominato, who sits on the board of who's a counselor.
I'm a huge fan. I'm
so
going with
you
my
guys,
folks.
Figure it out, do the math. What's the number?
Forum building, super dogs, the agriculture building, the live music that you get. I'm not a big rides person, but I'm happy to walk around through the rides. I love the food. You go and you have your Jimmy's. Happy 90th, by the way, to Jimmy's Burgers on site with the onions. I love the Peony. I missed it so much when I lived in Ontario because the CNE isn't as good. But that Midway needs to be fun again. Read more at theorca.ca.
Enough the kid gambling or something.
Kid Casino.
Kid Casino.
Thanks for reading my column, George.
I did read it. It was amazing.
That's it for today.
Thanks.
Good night.